Wednesday morning at 9 a.m. No matter the time zone, all across the country, there are over 1 million cups of coffee being had at the same time. It's pretty fabulous. You get to be a part of that community this morning. And for those that are watching online, we want to encourage you to share this video. We have a fabulous presentation, and make sure you follow us at 1 Million Cups Joplin on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, and YouTube. If you're here with us this morning and you have not followed us, make sure and look us up on all of those platforms. That wasn't me. Jesus? Sorry, bad joke.
Okay, I need to turn mine off. You're alive.
You never know what's going to happen. And we do have a children's author this morning, and I don't know. This is just going to be a fun meeting, I can tell already. So, awesome. So we want to thank some of our sponsors this morning. Obviously, the Joplin Area Chamber of Commerce, who facilitates the logistics and coordination of this meeting every single week. Doug Hunt and his team coordinate the physical setup and the opportunity to utilize this room. Also, Aaron and Alyssa for coordinating all of our social media efforts. Let's give them a great hand this morning. Thank you so much, Joplin Area Chamber of Commerce. Also to Gina Godley, the Joplin Public Library. Gina has been on the ground floor of 1 Million Cups since the inception. She is also a great part of the Springfield chapter. She has been a great piece of the puzzle of making sure that 1 Million Cups actually gets off the ground in Joplin, Missouri. Let's give Gina and the library a big hand this morning. Also, we want to thank some of our additional sponsors this morning. Granny Schaefer's, who provides our coffee each and every single week. Please make it a point. Stop in and see Mike Wiggins. He actually told me 2 weeks ago, he said, listen, in his Mike Wiggins voice, I want to say thank you for promoting our coffee. Is that pretty good, Mike Wiggins? Not too bad, right? I like to do impressions. It's Children's Author Day, so I can just be a character too, right? All right, cool. I have a Doug Hunt impression, by the way, just so you're aware. I really do. I can't. I'm sorry. I will show you at some point. I do have a Doug Hunt impression, an actual Doug Hunt impression.
You should do it. Who wants him to do it?
Let's see. So Doug has this very serious tone when he sits and talks with you. He says, you know, I was talking to Lowell Lane this morning, and you know what he told me? He said, there's a great piece of the puzzle for entrepreneurs in Joplin. Wouldn't you agree? I think so. Don't you? All you have to do is have this little resignation and get really positive. It's so awesome. We love you very much, and I love you very much. I haven't said it publicly, but Doug has been a great part of supporting entrepreneurs in the Joplin area. And if you are an entrepreneur that presents, you owe it to yourself to have a cup of coffee with Doug, because he's going to impart a lot of wisdom and knowledge to you. We want to thank our other partners in our various chambers. Kavanaugh Stedable at the Carl Junction Chamber of Commerce here this morning. Thank you so much for being here. Lori Lyerla with the Neosho Area Chamber of Commerce is not able to be with us this morning, but we are very proud of our chamber partnerships. Our chambers make small business work. How many would agree with that? Without our area chambers of commerce, we would not be able to promote our businesses effectively and share the news to the world about what we do as entrepreneurs and professionals. So we're very excited for those partnerships. Also, we want to thank the Missouri Technology Corporation, who assists us with our media opportunities today. We have a very amazing and fun, and can you tell that the theme is fun today? Presentation for you today. I've gotten to know our next presenter very well over the last few weeks, and he was introduced to me by a dear friend, Ricky. Thank you for that introduction. We've had a great time over coffee recently. He is a national, actually, I could say international, but he is a nationally published author. He just happens to live in Joplin, Missouri. Isn't that right? We've been talking about that, haven't we? Anybody ever heard of a person named Fergie, the Duchess of York, by chance? One of his books was recently purchased by Fergie. And what was really cool was he looked at the address and went, huh, wow, I don't think I know where that's at. Went to the post office and I said, well, let's look it up. And they said, well, okay, do you know what that is? I said, I don't know, let's go into the Duchess of York. The Duchess of York purchased one of his books and got to read it to a group of kids in her home country. And that, I think, is a pretty phenomenal thing. Please welcome to the stage. I'm going to introduce the character and author and illustrator to you. Please welcome Izzy B to the house today.
Hi, I am Izzy B. I'm a children's book author and illustrator. I've been doing it for about 6 years. My real name is not Izzy B. Believe it or not, this is what I tell most kids. My real name is Isaiah Basie, but when I first started out as an author, it was too hard for kids to spell. At libraries and such, I would talk to kids, and they were like, I can't find any of your stuff. So I decided to go with Izzy B because it's way easier, and it's kind of become, like a character and like a part of who I am. So I'll see kids at stores and I'll be like, Izzy B and stuff like that. So it's kind of fun because it's like another side of who I am. So I've wanted to be an author since I was a kid. I used to be a part of this thing called Young Authors. And man, I wish we still had that. It was at Missouri Southern. And I entered it every year, starting with first grade. And I won every year. I was this little chunky thing. So my friends who were all athletic, they'd be like shooting hoops and stuff like that. And I was like, well, I'm not as good at that. So this was kind of like my Super Bowl. I poured so much into my books that I won every single year, 2nd, 3rd, 4th grade. And by 4th grade, I was like, this is what I want to do when I grow up. I want to be an author. So it's kind of been a part of me since the 1st grade. Matter of fact, in the 1st grade, my book was called My Dog Hoser. And I wrote a book about my dog who peed on everything. And that's why we named him Hoser. So I was even a little silly in the 1st grade. I still have that book. It's in my office. I sit and I look at it all the time, just kind of remember, the silly me as a kid when I write for kids. So here's a little bit of my story. You'll probably hear this from most authors. Rejection is a big part of the game, right? You get rejected over and over and over and over and over again. And I even got really close one time. I got a book deal at HarperCollins. And this was big. Like, if you know HarperCollins, they're the top 3. And I had an editor, and we worked on a book, and then out of the blue one day, she calls me and she says, we only publish one holiday book a year, and we had a big name author who presented a book to us, and it was a holiday book. So she told me the bad news, and they turned me down. Now, I'm actually grateful and blessed for that bad news. I know that, I could have probably let that crush me, but now I look back on that, and if I would have taken that book deal, I would never be who I am right now. So, then the final thing was I had an agent who loved A Tidy-Whitey Wind. Loved it. But he said, I'm only looking for author illustrators right now. I was not an illustrator, never took an art class. I quit art in 8th grade. Yeah, I was done with art. My art teacher in 8th grade was, one of those, I don't want to say anything bad about a teacher, because I was a teacher, but he was just hard. He was hard. And it just kind of turned me off from art. So, I sat with my wife. I remember vividly, I said, I don't want to give up. Is this one more hurdle? Do I need to become an illustrator? Because this will set me apart from everybody else. And she was like, you've been doing this for 10 years. You've been writing books for 10 years. You can't give up. So I literally went out that day and bought a drawing tablet at Best Buy. And I started watching YouTube on how to illustrate books. That's how I learned how to draw and illustrate children's books, YouTube. So this was my first attempt. Mind you, I'm teaching 2nd and 3rd grade. So I'm trying to do and I'm a dad. So I'm balancing a lot of things. But I would wake up 5 in the morning, every morning, and I would practice drawing. I would stay up till probably about midnight every night, practice drawing. I was drawing constantly. And I was just trying to get better, because like I said, I've never taken an art class. I started taking art classes online here and there, started going to these things called SCBWI conferences for Society for Children's Book Writers. I got an internship with the illustration department. I just started doing little things and teaching myself, and I just got better. I started releasing books kind of as like a test run, Like I would release a new book and it would look better than the last one. And I was like, well, I'm practicing to become an illustrator by making new books. So that's kind of like what I did. And then this was always my bread and butter. Kids love this book. And I hated it. I didn't hate the book, the story. I loved the story. I couldn't look at the illustrations. And I'd go to schools and I'd even be like, look at these other books, kids. What do you want to read? And they'd always be like, A Tidy-Whitey Wind. And I'd sit here and I'd just dread it. So I had to make a decision. I was like, I'm either going to get rid of this book or I'm going to redraw it. 2 years, it took me 2 years to redraw this book. That's how long it took. And so I redid a Tidy Whitey Win. I did a Kickstarter. I'd never learned about a Kickstarter. But I started to slowly learn more about the business side of self-publishing. And that's what the Kickstarter let me do. I started to learn about how to really print books and make a profit, how to really profit off school visits. So at this point, I feel like I'm pretty comfortable as an illustrator, as an author. Now I'm trying to become more comfortable as Izzy B, the business. So that's kind of like where I'm at now. So this is where I am now. Now I illustrate books for other people. Isn't that kind of cool? Like, I started out not having a clue what I'm doing, and now I have about literally 3 people a day contacting me, hey, will you make me a book? You know, I'm even turning people down because I'm overwhelmed. So, commercial illustration, I have people that ask me to do logos, which is always a little bit more fun because, you know, I just get to pick one piece of art. And then school visits. School visits are so fun. It's like my bread and butter. Like, my background is I was a traveling actor before I was a school teacher. I was on a kids Saturday morning TV show. I like to entertain people. So school visits is kind of like really fun for me because I get to go up on stage and be a totally different person, almost like a character. Yeah, I get to be really goofy and just entertain. So I really love school visits. I'm going to talk about this for a second because I think it's really cool. This was actually what springboarded me to transition. Let's say transition, that's a good word. I was a teacher. I taught at Carl Junction for 7 years. I taught Joplin. I've been teaching for 10 years. But it got to the point where, you know, I had to have a conversation with my wife. I'm turning down author visits. I'm turning down illustration clients to the point where I was turning down more money than I was making as a teacher. So I was like, you know, what am I going to do here? I have to make a big, big, big decision. Well, this guy contacts me. He's a comedian. His name's Devin Siebold. He wanted to make a book. I don't know how he got my name, but I was I was flattered, for sure. But I was very excited. This guy's famous. He has like 1 million followers or whatnot, you know? So I'm like, instantly like, yes, trying not to be, you know, too excited, to turn him off, you know? You know, like, he has my phone number now, and I tried. You can see our text, and it looks like I'm a creepy stalker. You know, there's like 15 blue with 1 gray, because he's on tour right now, and he's going around being a comedian. He's crazy busy, and I'm like, hey, you know, like, what are you doing? You know? And I'm sure he's super nice, and we've talked a lot. Obviously, I'm making his book, but I'm trying not to be too creepy. Anyway, I'm not creepy. I hope you don't get that. Don't get that. I'm just excited because this is a big deal. So anyways, this book right now, it has a Kickstarter. It only has 8 days left. I'm not pitching it, but there it is. And we raised $17,000 in 20 days. So, yeah, and he's been on, yeah, I'm pretty excited. I'd like to say I had a big part of that, but he's not even pitching it that much. Like, I'm sitting here like, dude, you can make so much more money. But he's on tour, so he's like, he'll post, you know, willy-nilly. And then he'll post and be like, hey, that post raised $5,000. And I'm like, that's great. Okay, let's move on. Marketing problems. Okay, big thing for me right now is school safety. We know. Goodness, I don't need to go into detail. All these schools are pushing me to the spring. I'm gonna be a busy man in the spring, I'll tell you that. School safety is huge right now, and I'm obviously a full promoter of it, and I'm trying to do things to be safe. You know, like I'm giving schools a 7-hour assembly. I'm like, I'll give you 4, spread out the kids. Let's do 4 mini assemblies, stuff like that. I'm trying. I want to work with the schools, and they're wanting to be super safe too. So that's kind of like a big thing. I'm kind of hitting that wall. Is I want to come in and have fun with your kids, because let's be honest, last year was not very fun. Especially from a teacher's perspective. Here's a teacher telling you last year was not very fun. So this year my goal is to go in and have fun. You know, I want to be fun and make schools fun. School safety, that's a big thing. I'm having a big problem with like locking down clients. So that's kind of like one of my issues because, well, first off, I don't know how many artists we have in here, but sometimes it's hard to convince people that you're serious, that this isn't a hobby, you know, that I'm like a professional and I'm experienced and I make quality things and it's worth that extra money to get something quality. So that's like a big problem I have is, I'll tell you one of my big competitors, and I'll talk about this on the next slide, but is Fiverr, and I'll talk more about that. I'm not against Fiverr, but it's just something I struggle with. And then I'm just learning, you know, and I'm learning about book printing right now, and I printed in China and stuff like that. Like, my ships are in the ocean right now, or my books. The ship obviously is in the ocean. They're not just floating here on a raft. But my books are in the ocean right now, and everybody talks about, hey, all these ships are in the ocean, and my mom sent me a picture, and she's like, I bet that's your ship right there. And I was like, thanks, Mom. I'm just picturing all these, like, you know, sailors reading a tidy-whitey wind and having a good old time. Yeah, there we go. My book on the ocean. So here's some cool solutions. I obviously do formatting. That's the big thing. There's a lot of people out there that can do art. There's a lot of people out there that can do illustrations. Not very many people know how to turn that into a book, right? There's a lot of things that you need to know. Bleeds and formatting, page size, and cover art. Covers are not easy. UV, people don't even usually know what that means. If I want my book to shine on the cover, you know, stuff like that, I know how to do that. So there's some cool stuff like that. Commercial illustration. So this was kind of fun. Ow. Midwestern Interactive is, and I'm pitching this to them next week, so fingers crossed. But they want me to make a book about a kid who's a programmer to make programming cool for kids. So they're hiring me to make a book, and I'm making the entire thing and make it about a kid who solves his problems with programming. So I've written the book, I ghostwrite it, you know, and it's called The King of Code, and I'm illustrating it, and so I'm pitching that to them next week. I'm really excited about that because it's a whole different kind of client, you know, like, I'm not gonna lie, most of my clients are moms that are trying to, like, you know, I want to try something new, you know, which is great. I love moms. It's a weird thing to say, but you know, they're great. They're great. A lot of them are teachers. A lot of my clients are teachers, which obviously being a teacher, I love teachers. So I want to help them and support them, but it's fun having a client with a bigger budget. So that's kind of fun. Yeah. I'm trying to find a printer that's one of my big solutions for printing. I'm trying to find a printer in the States. And I think I found one. He could compete with China. China, they make great stuff. And I know it's everywhere. It's like made in China, made in China. Well, there's a reason, okay? And this book I printed in China, and man, is it gorgeous. And it was like a nickel, okay? Not really. But seriously, but the problem is there's so many things that you don't see, like customs and shipping, and it took me forever to get these books here. And so I'm trying to find someone, you know, I can like walk down the road and take my books, but it's been kind of a struggle. Competition. I don't really have that much competition around here, okay? Like, there are authors, don't get me wrong. There are children's book authors in this area, but I don't think they quite have the same appeal and presentation that I do. Like, they're not as character and goofy and fun. So, and if they are, I'm sorry, I don't know. But globally, my biggest competition right now is Fiverr. Like, I will get about 3 clients a day that are like, hey, I want you to make a book. And then I tell them my prices. And like, every once in a while, I'll get someone that'll say, well, on Fiverr. And I'm like, because I compete a lot with illustrators overseas. They have a lower cost of living. It's a big problem for me because I charge, you know, $100 an illustrated page, which I know that sounds like a lot, but sometimes illustrating a quality page can take me 2 or 3 days. It's a lot of work. And people don't see that. They don't know that You know, one page can take me, you know, like I said, 3-4 days, maybe even a week. There's pages that have taken me an entire week. And if I'm charging you $100 a page, I just made $100 a week. You know, that's not a good wage, especially when I'm trying to support my family. But they'll go on, they'll say, hey, this person charges $25 a page. They'll illustrate an entire children's book for $200. And I'm like, how do I compete with that? So that's kind of my biggest thing, is that competition side is something I'm trying to prove to people that I'm worth it. I can make you something that's good. And it is. People are starting to see that now, because all my clients are having really successful books. I've had 2 that I've finished, and their books are doing great. So it's kind of fun that you can see that other side of it. Competitive advantage, building a brand is kind of what we've talked about. You know, like building Izzy B as more than just a name, but being a character. You know, my son loves Blippi. Thank you. Oh, I know, and he won't let me tell people. He won't let me tell people he loves Blippi. I have to keep it a secret. He watches it in secret, you know, like in his closet in the dark. He's in kindergarten, folks, okay? He's already aware that Blippi's not, I don't know. But here I am, like, that's what I'm trying to be. I want to become not like him, but I want to be like, you know, fun and stuff like that. I have a famous client. That's been big for me, and I love saying that. Like, hey, he's famous. I'm not, but here we go. Connecting with the audience is a big part of what I do. I can connect with kids. Kind of awkward in front of adults, but you put me in front of a bunch of kids, we're gonna have a good time. We're gonna have a lot of fun. Like, that's just where I'm at. That's my bread and butter. I have a pretty strong social media presence. I'm not gonna lie. I'm okay there. Like, I know social media is hard, and it is, but for me, I do okay. You know, this was something I was gonna talk about. I have this at my events, and I put it when we're in line. It's called Linked, and you just tap your phone on it, and it has all my social media pop up on their phone. And so I put that at the front of the line, and I put like this little thing. It's like, get to know Izzy before you get up to the book signing table. And so it's fun because I'll hear all these people watching my videos and stuff in line and kind of getting to know who I am before they come up. So that's kind of been one of my fun things that I've done. But social media wise, I do okay. This is my, and we don't have time to watch this, but I started a video show on YouTube called Underpants Theater. My character, I play this character named Jean Stinky Boutte, and he reads children's books. So I filmed 2 episodes. I'm not doing a good job, but I need to do it more. It's just one of those things, finding time, you know. Identification of problems for me, I'm not business savvy. I'm not a business person. Never have been, never wanted to really be a business person, so I'm learning. This is a whole new world for me. Taxes and, you know, all that stuff that's adulting, it's not in my wheelhouse. I'm an elementary school teacher. So these are all new shifts for me as Izzy B becomes a business. So especially in Joplin, there's so many people that are just willing to help. Goodness, I'm starting to see like people that are like excited to help you. That blew my mind. People that are like wanting you to be successful. I was like, I thought my wife was the only one that cared if I'm successful. And I have people that are coming alongside me like, let's do this. Let's, you know, show you the ropes. Which that was really humbling, but also at the same time, like, it was just exciting for me to see that I'm not alone in this adventure. Like, there's people that are really wanting to be a part of it too, which, let's get on the same boat and let's go, you know? Time management's hard for me. I have 5 book clients right now. I'm making 5 books at once. And I told you I get about 1 a day. So I'm booked making book illustrations all the way till March. I have about 10 book clients right now that are serious and have already paid me like installments and whatnot. It's stressful waking up. And I love my new job. I do, I love it. I get to go and draw, and then every once in a while I take a break and just be goofy in front of kids. It's so fun. But every once in a while I'll get in my office and I'll just sit there and be like, I'm gonna draw for 8 hours today. You know, like it's stressful because I have, like I said, a bunch of teacher moms who are just waiting by their phone for me to send them a new illustration, you know, like they're just like, and I send it and I get a reply back like in a second. Oh yeah, like let's do this again. And I'm like, you don't understand. I'm making 10 books right now, okay? Like, it's just the time management part is a big, and then I have to be funny and I have to be on social media and I have to make YouTube videos and I have to this or that. Like there's just that. I have to be dad. Let's not forget that. So there's all these different things that like just become a bit overwhelming, but it's a good problem to have, right? That's what I keep telling people. It's a good problem. I'd rather be like this than the other side of it and be like bored out of my mind, you know, walking up to people like, you want to make a book? You know, like you want a book? You want a book? You know, so I'm glad I'm not like that. I'm having to turn people away. I've had some weird books, I'll tell you that. I turned that lady down in a heartbeat. This lady came with me, I won't even tell you the book, but it was weird. It was about this little atom, and this atom does all these things, and I was like, no. I did not have a problem telling her no. Okay, well, that is Izzy B in a nutshell. I can probably talk. I like talking. Okay.
I really enjoyed this presentation. I told you it was really fun today. Very, very good job. Which, by the way, he has his books for sale today. Does anybody have kids by chance? Okay. So he has books for sale. I'm taking 2 of them. So 2 of them are mine, but the rest are for sale. So I'm buying 2 today. So just so you're aware.
Do you take
Okay.
returns?
I brought my square, that's all I take. I didn't bring cash. The bank, I'll tell you, the bank thinks I have a lot of rummage sales. I'll go to the bank and I'll say, I need some sell cash. And they finally caught on. They were like, this is like the 8th rummage sale you've had this week. I was like, I don't have that stuff. I'm not a hoarder or anything, okay? I don't know how else to tell you. I'm an author and I need money.
I sell things for local.
Yeah.
Listen,
Oh,
we
wow.
have had a lot of presentations for Plumbing.
Yeah.
How many would just be honest and say that this has been a lot of fun and a breath of fresh air? Like, it's just so cool. So cool, and congratulations. First comment, question comes to Doug Hunt.
I gotta tell you, I feel like I should have bought a ticket. This was entertaining.
Yes.
And
Yeah, if you want, I'll charge you.
I bet you would.
Okay.
And the fact that your passion is driving your entrepreneurship is a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
So focus on that. One of the books I would encourage you to read is by Stephen Little called The 7 Irrefutable Laws of Small Business Growth.
I can't even get to the title, man.
I'll get it to you. I'll get it to
It's
you.
like I read children's books.
I know. Struggle through it, I promise. But what that will do will give you some guardrails on how you can look at everything that you're doing.
Okay.
Because at the end of the day, all of us have the same amount of time. And so you're getting connected with famous people, and just your own product, your own books, could carry you into an area of income where you don't have the moms eating your clock. That's a possibility.
Yeah.
So really
What a
look at
weird
that.
sentence, but yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Thank you.
No, and can you write that? I literally have already lost it. 7
I
things.
had a thought on that. You talked about
Write that down.
you
'cause I really
wanted the right clientele who have
Yeah.
dollars. I wonder, like Doug is actually connected directly to Stephen Little from
Yeah.
years ago, who's huge. Like you Google him, he's all over the place. He's like a big deal. I wonder if for you, just as a weird thought, could you prospect people like that and say, you ever thought about doing a book for kids? Like
Yeah.
the 7 Irrefutable Laws
Totally.
of Business for
Love that
Kids.
100%.
Like, could you do that? You know, so just a
Yeah,
thought.
I've contacted, and it's nice having Devin Siebold in my back pocket. Once again, weird sentence, but it's nice going to people and be like, hey, I made a book for this famous comedian, and he's, you know, he sold 500 books in a month. You know, you know, I know what I'm doing. You can make $10 profit a book. You know, you could take this into schools and just make money.
I think you need to connect with Doug for a one-on-one, and he needs Steven's contact.
Yep.
Yeah,
Just
but
throw it at him. And Steven's kind of a character too. Like if you watch him on YouTube, he's got a persona that is really kind of fun. Next question or comment for Izzy? Yes.
First of all, I could listen to you all day, and I think your presentation was the best one I've ever seen here.
oh my goodness, thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's great. Let's talk more about that. Let's do it.
illustrations are so recognizable.
Yeah.
The ghost book that you're illustrating for, I think the kids, if they see the cover of the book, they're gonna know it's you,
Yeah.
and they're gonna buy it because they love your other stuff.
Yeah.
Also, you need to have a TV show
Yeah.
to read your books.
You got it. You got it.
With your,
Let's do it.
so, I can't help you with that. but
Okay.
you need to
I
look
was gonna
into
say,
it.
let's make that show. Let's make that happen. I will say, like, we talked about being more on the news and stuff like that. Like, I'm all for it. I don't know how to do that.
I can tell you. So KSN and KODE, you can buy airtime, stupid affordable.
Really?
You can have your own show. You can do it one of two ways. You can get people that can produce for you, which means you're not paying the TV stations to produce your show, or you can pay the TV stations, local guys, KSN and KOD, to produce your TV show, and you can do the show in their studio.
Is that easy?
That easy. Yep. And I know where you're at with your budgets. You can make this happen. So we'll talk more on.
Wow,
And
I
you
didn't-
be
I
the MC. I mean, you need to be in the
Yeah.
show.
They don't care how you do it, as long as it's family friendly, it's television format friendly.
Yeah, I get that.
You can be the guy. So it's very easy to have a local TV show. And guess what? You can take that same show, since Nexstar is a family of broadcasting companies. There are Nexstar stations in a lot of major cities, Springfield, Wichita,
Huh.
Tulsa. And you could go take
No
that and say,
idea.
hey, I'm already on Nexstar in Joplin. We would like to talk about, and if you're buying the airtime, that's the way it works. If I have a show, I'm buying the airtime. So if you see a TV show on the air, minus like your Seinfelds and things like that,
Yeah.
they're buying that time. Which means if you wanted to, you could sell sponsorships and have commercials on your show.
Huh.
Next question or comment for Izzy?
Okay.
Yes.
That's great. That sounds awesome.
A couple things. One is, you said your love for the writing came early, and the program is no longer there.
Yeah.
I think that you ought to reach out and try to get a program started again, because it grows children. And the second one is, I don't know if you've ever attended the library conferences, but they have authors and author signing days, and that gets you into a lot of libraries all at once.
I love the Joplin Public Library, and I'm pretty well connected. Yeah, I've done a few things with the Joplin Library.
The young artists and stuff, like you.
We've actually talked about that. Me and the Joplin Library children's section, we've kind of like talked about doing something like that. Small.
There's someone in the room that might have some influence there. Just
Yeah, we've talked about doing something like small like that. We have actually, but that was through Missouri Southern. And I remember we would go and we'd sit in the auditorium, and there'd be like a lot of kids there, and we all loved books. It was great. And they bring in an author, and you got to meet them, and it was like star, like this author came in, and I seeing every kid react to that author and how like that author was a big deal for writing books. For me as a kid, that was like, oh my goodness, this guy's not throwing a football, which I played football. There's nothing against athletics. I love athletics. But for me as a kid, I'm like, this guy is doing something super cool, super fun. And I just connected with it. I was hooked. And so, yeah, I've actually talked to Missouri Southern about that. I think it was just a money thing. I don't know.
I feel like that used to be a statewide program. I didn't know
They did it at Pitt State. I think someone said Pitt State might still do something smaller. So I do think it's, but man,
Ben has a question for you.
Well, first statement, I love your passion for everything you're doing. I would love to see you on TV, like Reading Rainbow meets Blippi without the suspenders. I'm down for it.
I love suspenders though.
I know how to spell Blippi, do you?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've got 2 kids, so, yeah, and, it's inspiring too. I've got my 7-year-old here, and he's running his own little business and my business, and he's seeing you doing this stuff, and I tell him all the time, Dad makes video games, you can make art, but I love that you're making a traditional art and do it. And I have a lot of thoughts and ideas of how you could take what you're already doing and do it digitally. We make virtual reality video games, so that world is infinite for saying like, hey, step into this world and do stuff. But to a more, so we'll talk later.
Oh
But-
yeah, I'm talking to you.
Yeah. But
I mean,
I also
Sounds amazing.
resonated with I'm trying to spend time with my kids. I'm
Yeah.
trying to code. And I'm trying to do these things. And you sit down and I've got 8 or 10 clients and all this code to complete. and you sit down and you say, where do you start? What page
Yeah.
do you start on? And I think a key for you is with your time management, at least has been for me, in finding success and finding getting those things turned out and it not becoming like what your teaching job was to you, you know, something that you can't excel in, is you need to take those things that are repeatable and that you're really good at and figure out a way to monetize those across several channels. So I think people are touching on that with the TV or other media, or even when you're competing with Fiverr, there's a way to market yourself to where you can, you know, stay busy enough to tell people, you know, tell the moms that you have to tell no, and still feel like you can make it good. So there's something about that, honing in on that, and don't lose that focus of, I can do this, and then I can spread it out to multiple venues. So you might think about, you already know, I come from the printing world too, as you know, started out there. If you take that same focus that you've learned how to, like, hey, I'm making my own book, you make those connections, there's so many other mediums that you can take and tell those stories and take those illustrations and let them have a life of their own.
I've actually like messed around and tried to figure out like making an app, you know, like an interactive story app. And it, you know, it was just, you know, I got a drawing pad, learned to illustrate. But that was, and I watched YouTube and I did the same steps I did to illustrate, but it was just it's like another language. You know, so that was something I would love to kind of break into, but it was just too much for me to try and pile that on while I'm also being successful at something else, you know?
Leah?
Okay, so you love the illustration stuff, you're booked out, you have lots of stuff,
Mm-hmm.
but from what I can already know about you, because this is the most fun that I've had at Million Cups so far, you love being in front
Did
of
you hear that,
people.
people?
Well, you have an energy. You
Yeah.
have more in talent in your pinky finger for being in front of an audience than.
Once again, I
So
can
I will
take
rain
compliments all
down the
day.
compliments.
Yeah,
yes.
let's do it.
But
I
to
need
bring that
to.
back in. So you love to be in front of the children. You love to get into the schools and energize them about reading.
Yeah.
So what are you doing? Do you have a marketing person, be it your wife or be it whomever, that you are having reach out to these places and actually market you to them so that you can keep doing this?
Yeah.
But because you say that you struggle with that, okay, I have to sit here for 8 hours and do it, where if you really have somebody doing that in the background that's going to give you what is energizing you to continue doing a little bit more mundane stuff for your personality.
Yeah, and JD, he's been awesome, and he kind of like sat down with my wife. My wife, I know you're like, hey, you quit teaching, you lost your salary and everything, but then we added on to that stress, you know, like my ship was already like barely tipping, and then my wife was like, I want to quit and help you too. And I was like, okay. So now we're losing 2 salaries. She did it. And so my wife has taken that mantle, and then JD told us we should start a fake booking agency. So my wife started a new company too that's not even real. Yeah, it's called Yellow Door Booking because we have a yellow door on our house. So that's simply, if anybody's like, if Yellow Door Booking calls you, it's my wife, and I'm not famous.
But you are famous. We're going to change that, okay?
Yeah, I am famous.
You are famous. You're nationally.
Thank you.
You're
He
a
told me I
nationally
need to quit
published
doing
author.
that too, yeah.
You're a nationally published author who just happens to live in Joppa.
And is this going on
This is
YouTube,
on
right?
YouTube. You are a nationally
Because
published
I was
author
about to say though,
who
the Duchess
of York purchased your book.
and read it on YouTube.
Yes, so I think that's a big
But
deal.
can we edit out that she did a horrible job? We shouldn't say that.
She did so.
My mic cut out. Did you guys see that? Did you blame that? The Duchess? She's got so much power. She cut my mic off.
Oh my
for
gosh.
it.
Charity?
I will say though, she did a great job.
Another question.
Okay, so you said that you're not a business person.
No.
My husband and I started a business in the spring. I'm also not a business person.
Okay.
We've been trying to wear all the hats.
Mhm.
So my biggest piece of advice is find someone else to do that part for you.
That sounds awesome. And I think
There's plenty of people in Dublin who do that.
yeah, and I should.
Who enjoy to do it.
I should. You're right.
I don't.
And I will. I will do that. It's just about balance right now because I just started in May, you know.
Delegate.
Money, there's this thing called money I have to get. And
One more question, Izzy.
yeah.
I just have a quick comment. I think that you should not take into consideration your competition, that Fiverr or whatever.
Yeah.
Take that out of your head because you have like if you're just comparing they can do it for cheaper or whatever, you're not taking into consideration your talent. So the talent, that's the thing that sets you apart, and that's where the money is because that's where the value is. And so just take that out of your computation and charge more, and because of the value of the talent.
And I think that like that's what I'm trying to do is to rise above that by being this person that can be like, hey, I'm gonna put my name on your book, and that alone should be enough for you. You know, that's what I'm trying to do.
Know your value.
Yeah, that's big. It is big. Thanks.
So my first question is,
Yeah.
do you like the writing of the books better, or do you like the entertaining of the kids with your books better? Like what's your ultimate?
Yeah, I love the school visit side. I just love schools. I like to just walk around and kind of be a fly on the wall and be kind of creepy, you know, like just
Yeah. So
like look in the classroom.
Yeah.
Yeah, just be like, I love schools. I
Have you heard of the collaborative summer reading program that happens across the whole United States of America?
Yeah, right now.
So what happens is every summer, children's librarians are jockeying to book like the best entertainers to come to the libraries, and they pay them, you know, anywhere from $300 to $5,000 a visit.
Okay, yeah,
So you need some sort of gimmick, some sort of thing that will make them want to book you and bring you in for like a 45-minute program
yeah.
to entertain hundreds of kids.
I'm on it.
And you can do hundreds of those programs throughout the summer, and it's only for usually May, June, and July. And then you have the rest of the year to write and illustrate
Oh my gosh.
and get your books together.
That sounds amazing.
That's
And
awesome.
you can actually get yourself in front of lots of librarians if you go to their conferences, because they have what's called a performer showcase. So you get like a 5-minute time period to sort of demonstrate what your skills are, like what your entertainment is.
Yeah.
And then they book you. So that would be my.
That sounds awesome.
Because it seems like, you know, authors are not always a great fit for that, but
I've seen some boring authors.
entertaining,
Yeah,
performing.
and I can say them right now.
He doesn't even need the whole 5 minutes. Yeah.
I can tell you right now, like that sounds. I don't have time to make my own
That's my
books.
suggestion.
I don't have time to make my own books right now. Like I have about 10 books in my head, and some of them are on paper, and some of them are, you know, like I have 2 or 3 illustrations. But I want to make. I only have these 4 because now everybody's like, make my book, make my book, make my book, and I don't even have time to make my own. So it would be nice to have time to be able to say, this is Izzy time. You know.
90 seconds, Ben, for a final.
Okay.
I had to swing back by here because I just realized something. She mentioned about the thing that you were into as a kid. I don't think that's accidental with the Missouri Southern and winning that. And then, you know, I'm right next door to the guys that you're writing the book for, and they're about, hey, kids, you could be a programmer.
Yeah.
I think you just can't shy away from your roots here. As much as you're an entertainer, you're a teacher.
Yeah.
And I think there's a value there but if you're gonna get booked places, you're gonna do things, I think creating content that inspires kids to be authors,
Yeah.
to paint, to read, those kind of things, it seems generic, but when you put your flair on it, I think that you've got a thing there. I mean, workshops, educational material, things that you can sit down and say, here's a group of things could extend beyond the scope of just private and public school and homeschool to extracurricular activities, summer things, and really have an entire branch of media multi-purpose applications. You've really got, if you're gonna build your brand, I think education should be a core.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it's a big part of what I do, obviously.
Awesome. Let's give Izzy a hand this morning. Couple things, closing thoughts. Once again, hey, let's make some noise for this. This was a lot of fun. Thank you for being here today. Want to encourage you, so those of you that have some great, like direct, you can offer assistance to him, Gina and Doug specifically, please make sure if you can connect with them today.
Yeah.
Treat them to a cup of coffee,
Treat me
let
all
them
you
pour
want.
into you,
Treat me.
and you treat them and let them pour into you.
Oh, wait, is it another way? Oh, sorry.
Gina likes food.
I'll treat
Free food is good. Doug likes Chick-fil-A for free. I mean, just.
That's right. All right, hey, let's go.
But the idea here is obviously
Yeah.
pour back into Izzy today while he's here, okay? And one way we can do that, it's rare that we have entrepreneurs that have product that they can make available over here. I'm gonna grab 2 books that I'm taking home for a Christmas gift.
I'm leaving
this
for
year.
Texas tomorrow
So
for school
if you
visits,
if
so-
you would like to make a purchase to invest back into our
Yeah,
local
man.
entrepreneur today, let's make a point to do that. Stick around, have some coffee, and let's continue to connect. Great job today.
Thank you.